Anyways, moving on to our next fail, going to the biggest store this week. Sorry, hiccup. PlayStation is ending physical discs. This is probably the worst thing I've ever seen. I hate this, and there's no good way to spin it. Sony has announced an end for physical games starting in 2028. At the same time, they also announced that the PS3 and PS Vita online stores are shutting down, sending each user's purchased games into the void forever. If you've ever purchased anything on PlayStation 3, that's gone. You don't own that anymore. That's not yours. This paints a bleak future for video game ownership and has been met with a strong backlash. The main criticism has been on the grounds of game preservation and that digital-only games remove the ability to catalog games for historical reasons. If I buy, a game on PlayStation, I won't have that anymore if the store shuts down, and we already know it will. There's a 100% chance that the PlayStation 5 store shuts down sometime in the future. May not be 10 years from now. It could be 50 years from now, right? Very, very unlikely that it would even be more than 10. But it's going to shut down someday. It will. It just absolutely will. And then every game you've ever purchased on PlayStation 5 won't exist anymore. You can't download it. You can't recover it. You can't have it anymore, even though you paid full price. And it's scary. It's not good. And part of it's our fault. If you look at the graph behind my head here, the percentage of full games sold on PlayStation 4 and 5 that consumers bought as downloads instead of discs. You can see since 2016, it went from 27% to now in 2025, the latest data is showing that it went up to 78%, right? Like more than 3/4 of gamers are now playing digital only games. And so we're kind of like incentivizing them not to make discs anymore. And then GOG made a post saying, even if a game vanishes from the GOG storefront, it never leaves your library, exactly as digital ownership ought to be. And that's the thing, is we know GOG is going to still exist. When was GOG created? GOG originally launched as Good Old Games and was released on October 1st, 2008. Okay? So it's been out for almost 2 decades. And we know, we're pretty certain, unless the company somehow goes bankrupt or the server shut down or there's nuclear winter, we know that they're going to be here in 2048. Like, it's just something that we can depend on. Same with Steam. We know that Steam is going to stick around because Steam has been around for a long... Oh my goodness, I'm going to sneeze. Oh. Nope. I think it's passing. Oh, I lied. When was Steam created? Steam launched in 2003. We know that Steam is going to still be here in 2043. Another thing, I would just like to. Don't want to spoil. don't want to leak all my trades. Every game that you own on Steam remains on Steam. There's a game that's been removed called Arma 2 Free. There used to be a game called Arma 2 Free. It won't even take you to the store page. It doesn't exist anymore. Arma 2 Free is the free version of Arma 2, which is basically the full game. It's actually crazy. Arma 2 Free is a game that I have 33 hours in, and it's a very fun game. Expert Virus played this. And it's basically a full version of Arma 2 with like certain limitations. And it's so cool. And that's a game I think I'll have forever, even though they've removed it. Not that it's like a big deal because it's Arma, but Battlefront. Star Wars Battlefront 2005 is a game that I still have and will be able to play for generations to come because they can't take it away from me. That doesn't happen on Steam. It does happen on PlayStation. And also the stores are different. There's a different store for every single generation of PlayStation. So when the PlayStation 6 comes out in like the next year or two, all my PlayStation 5 games will not carry over. I won't own those anymore. Sony removes 500 plus movies. It's important to, talk about this again. We mentioned this last week, but we didn't go all the way in depth with it, but I think it's really important that we bring this back up. Just last week, Sony removed over 500 movies for users who purchased them and do not offer any sort of compensation. You purchase these movies, they're all gone. You don't get anything back. All films from Studio Canal will now be removed from PlayStation users' libraries after Sony lost the rights to sell their films. How does Sony losing the rights to something that they sold me already, how is that my problem? You know what I mean? Am I supposed to know every time I buy a movie from the PlayStation Store if I'm gonna get fucked or not? Like, what if you bought this game 2 weeks ago, or this game? What if you bought one of these movies two weeks ago, the week before this was announced? Do I just instantly lose it? It's like, cool, well, I just deleted that money. These would include titles like Terminator 2, all the Rambo movies, and other movies and shows. It's not the first time this has happened, nor will it be the last. This is theft and should be illegal. And then they have the logo, they have the call sign, play has no limits. And until it does, obviously. This is their official announcement, by the way. They said, as of September 1st, 2026, due to our content licensing agreements, you will no longer be able to watch any of your previously purchased Studio Canal content, and the content will be removed from your video library. Thank you, PlayStation Store. Yeah, thank you. Then they have their stupid little logo, play has no limits. Fuck you. Fuck you. Fuck you, die. Are you so serious? This is crazy. This is the kind of level of fuck you as the D-Brand story that we talked about earlier would have been if they didn't offer refunds. Could you imagine if D-Brand made that companion cube and then they're like, sorry, it turns out we don't have the rights to it, so then they just keep your money? That's basically what Sony's doing here. They sold you something, they go, oh, my bad, we don't have the rights to sell you that. And it's like, okay, well, can I have my money back? It's like, no. It's like PlayStation selling you a stolen bike, and then the police come and take it back, and you go to PlayStation, you're like, hey, give me my money back, that was stolen, and they took it away from me. It's like, no, that's my money now. That's what Sony's doing here. They're selling you something that they can't sell you, and then they're not giving you your money back. That's crazy. That's insane. This is awful. And this is not the first time that they've done this. They did this 2 other times in like 2022 and 2023. Like, this happens consistently. At this point, I wouldn't ever buy a single movie off their site because they will lose it. You never know what the next wave will be, and it happens consistently. I wouldn't be surprised if in 2027 or 2028 they have another round of movie removals. Like, they cannot hold the rights apparently, and if they lose the rights, then they take the movie away as well. That's so ridiculous. Even GOG has mentioned that if they lose the rights to sell the game, if it removes itself from the storefront, you still have access to it. That's the way that they operate, which is the way they should operate. Even if you don't have access to the licensing to sell something, that doesn't mean that previous sales should just disappear. Like, what? That you know what that tells me? Every single purchase on the PlayStation Store is a rental. Every single one of them is a rental. You don't own anything that you purchase on PlayStation. I believe if I buy a game on GOG, if I buy a game on Steam, my belief is that I own those things, right? And GOG seems to agree with me, at least. I don't know about Steam, but GOG certainly agrees that it's ownership, not a license, not a rental. Piracy is the only alternative. Video Game History Foundation director Frank Cifaldi has agreed that piracy is the only way to preserve games in a diskless future. He claims that video game companies refuse to work with him for a proper solution to give for game preservation. What the game industry fails to understand is that they are incentivizing people to obtain their games by other means when they make the legal way of doing so less convenient than the illegal. The sad thing is, you really do own your game if you pirate it, right? You have less ownership as a legal purchaser of a product on a Sony store than you do if you just steal it. If you steal it, you actually own it, which is crazy. This is on Blue Sky. This is the director replying to this person. They say piracy is the only extant form of media preservation that exists in games right now. You might find it morally reprehensible, but there's literally no other institution that will keep games alive in 25, 50 years' time. And they're correct in this observation. As the director of a historical video game preservation institution and someone who has dedicated his entire adult life to this cause, this is accurate. We have attempted to work with the industry trade organization to find a legal path forward, but they refuse to offer a meaningful alternative. There are a lot of games on like N64 that you cannot play anymore. Nintendo doesn't sell them. There's no way to legally purchase it without finding an old copy or using a ROM, using a pirated version. That's the only way you can even play some of these games. The only way that they could be available. There are some games that actually don't have copies that are floating around anymore. They've only been downloaded as ROMs. Like that's the only way to play it. It's like lost media otherwise. And there's a high likelihood that this is the future for other games. Like now, like we have games coming out today that are going to be digital only that in 20 years from now might be lost media because of this whole discless debacle, right? Like if I want to play Borderlands 3, I have a copy of that. I have a disc of that for PlayStation 4. I can still play that today. I can pop it into my console and I can play it. I can play all the Final Fantasy games because I have discs of them. But if the store shuts down or the new console comes out and they move it all over, like you might not have access to those games anymore. It's such an obviously bad idea. Like I don't think I need to tell anybody why this is a stupid idea. Here's the official post from the Video Game History Foundation. They said, "This is unfortunate news for those who still prefer buying games on physical media, and it's certainly a hit to consumer rights, the resale market, and game creators whose business rely on physical market. But from the perspective of professional preservationists, this doesn't have much of an impact as you might expect. The reality is that the vast majority of video games produced over the last 2 decades were not made for dedicated home video game consoles, let alone pressed into physical media, and even when they were released on physical media, a day one digital patch was all but guaranteed, meaning that even though the disc is preserving data in an accessible way, it may not represent the game that people actually played. Museums and archives have been preparing for this future for a while, with the expectation that putting discs on a shelf isn't going to be a long-term solution for preserving new games." That's actually an interesting take. They're saying that it doesn't even matter if discs exist now or not, because they still need updates, right? And if you don't have the server to update that anymore, then you still won't be able to get the full experience. You'll just have what the game launched as, which might not be the game that most people played. Like if you were to preserve Cyberpunk 2077, for example, and you were to only have the launch version of that on a disc, I can guarantee you that's not going to be. It's not going to be similar to what. It's not going to be similar to what we play now, right? What continues to baffle us is the industry expects institutions like ours to institutions like ours to do about it. If platform owners are deciding to eliminate physical media and older digital storefronts, then we'd also like to see trade groups like Entertainment Software Association offer meaningful solutions for archives and museums to legally preserve digital-only content and make it accessible for research. Everyone agrees that this is a serious problem, but the ESA has repeatedly opposed the efforts of cultural heritage institutions to reform digital copy production laws to make it easier to do this work. The industry needs to meaningfully come to the table on this issue, because asking museums to download a copy of GTA 6 and hope it'll run in 50 years is not a preservation solution. And they're so correct about this. I firmly believe that video game preservation is a very meaningful and important thing to do. There's something very, very amazing about being able to go back and play old games. Like that's why I like Steam. That's why I like the PC platforms. I can go back and I can play Heroes of Might and Magic. I can go back and play the original Doom, right? I can play all these older games. I could play, Unreal Tournament if I wanted to, but I can't do that on a Switch, I can't do that on a PlayStation 5. I can't do that on Xbox Series X. I can't go back and just, put my old, original copies of games into the console and have it play. And I can't download it off their stores either. But with PC, you can. I don't know, just for the sake of being able to experience old things, it is also the cultural relevance of some games at their time, I think is very important. I don't like lost media. It makes me sad to think that there are like games that, people poured their hearts into that may not exist in the future. That shouldn't be a reality. Anyways, what is the response? How did people respond to this terrible decision from Sony? Well, everyone is shitting on Sony. Everyone just is shitting on them. Multiple polls have indicated that gamers are unwilling to engage in a digital-only store when they know it'll only last around a decade. Unlike Steam or GOG, it is unlikely that PlayStation 5 store will exist in the 2030s. Other companies have wasted no time making memes and jokes at Sony's expense. So here's one poll saying, how do you feel about PlayStation ending physical game discs? This person says, this option says, I'll miss buying physical games at 71%. 16% say I'm undecided and want more options. 13% of people are total cucks saying I'm happy to go fully digital. Here's Digital Foundry. They did a poll. Sony has vowed to kill physical PlayStation games from 2028. Should they reconsider? Yes, physical media is still important. 86% of people said that. 14% say no, digital is the future. I agree. Digital is the future, but there needs to be some sort of physical copies of things, right? Because when it's digital, you don't own the rights to the store. The store will shut down. It will shut down. It's not a matter of if, but when. When is the PS5 store shutting down? Is it tomorrow? It could be. It really could be. I don't think it'll be, because that's the only one that they have right now. It's the newest one that they have. It doesn't seem like a good business decision. But if Sony wanted to, they could pull the plug tomorrow. They could pull it today. They could pull it in 2 minutes if they wanted to. And then all those games that you have digitally don't exist anymore. You don't have access to them. You can't play them anymore. They don't exist to you. They're in the void. And that will happen. It's crazy to say tomorrow, because it won't be tomorrow. We all know it won't be tomorrow, but it will be someday. It will be a tomorrow, right? Here's a post from KFC. They said, breaking news, KFC will stop offering its physical format starting today. Its products can only be consumed through its app in fake PNG format. So KFC is making a joke saying that they're going digital only. G Fuel also did one similarly here. It's kind of too small to read, but they're basically saying that G Fuel will be discontinued at all physical tubs, cans, and stick packs effective April 1st, 2027. Moving forward, all flavors will be available exclusively as downloadable flavor files. So everyone, these are just a couple of examples. Like, I've been seeing so many memes from so many companies saying like saying that all their products are going to be digital only, and it's coming from physical products, right? Like people are saying like, oh, my father's meat store, my what? Chat disconnected. Oh, we got disconnected from the chat up here. Just saying some like crazy shit. Like, yeah, my father's cafe will only have digital only coffee now. Everybody's doing memes about it because it's such an easy low hanging fruit. Very embarrassing. Very sad to see. And I hope they reconsider. I really do. I think that it's a terrible choice. Very, very out of touch. And kind of disappointing, especially because like they have a disc version of their consoles that people are obviously willing to pay money for, otherwise they wouldn't keep making it. I bought a disc version of the PlayStation 5, and I don't know, like also as a big Blu-ray guy, like I like my PlayStation 5 because it doubles as a Blu-ray player. Like that, I get two uses out of it, and I think that's amazing. I think a PlayStation 6 without a disc drive to me is much less valuable. You know what I mean? Like one thing I did was I gave away my PlayStation 4 when I got a PS5. I wouldn't be able to do that if I got a PS6. I would have to keep my PS5 because I need it. I need it to play my Blu-rays. But realistically, and I'm going to be very firm on this. You can hold me to this. If they make a new next generation console like a PlayStation or an Xbox, and it's only digital, I will not be buying it. I will not. I buy only disc version consoles, and there's a reason I do that. It's one of the only reasons I even buy a console. If it's going digital only, I might as well just upgrade my PC with the money I would spend on the console. I might as well just, because like I already have a digital only console. It's called a computer. I already have that. I don't need another one. I don't have a PlayStation 5 to me was like really enticing because I was like, oh cool, it's got a Blu-ray player in it. And I can buy video games. I can go to used game stores and I can slap those bad boys into my console and play them. Like that was a massive selling point for me. That was like I would even say like 60% of the reason I own a PS5 is because it has a disc in it, a disc reader. You take that out and I'm like, there's very little for me. There's very little for me to buy it. Anyways, I'll stop talking about this. I've been yapping about this for a minute. But that's my thoughts on it. If you have any other thoughts, I would love to hear them. But I think it's terrible. I think it's a terrible idea and very concerning for the future of consoles.